All right, guys, so today we got 10-3. We've added polynomials, we've multiplied monomials. Today we're going to raise monomials to powers. So the first one I have here is 3x to the fourth. Now when you're raising something to a power, that means you're multiplying by itself that many times. So we can rewrite 3x to the fourth as 3x times 3x times 3x times 3x. So that turns it kind of like what we did yesterday. I can do 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, and I get 81. And then I have x to the first times x to the first times x to the first times x to the first. I add up all the exponents, and I get 4. So the answer to 3x to the fourth is 81 x to the fourth. Now there's another way you could do that. You could split these two up and individually raise them to the fourth. So I have 3 to the fourth times x to the fourth, to the 1 times 4. So that would give you the same answer. Now let's go down and look at some examples. I've got m to the third raised to the fourth. So let's write that out. I'm multiplying m to the third by itself 4 times. There's 2, 3, and 4. Now, I have to remember from the other day, all we do when we're multiplying things together is add their exponents. So I'm going to have m. I have 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, which gives me m to the 12th. Okay, and if you notice, that 12 is actually what 3 times 4 is. Let's look at number 2. Negative 4mn to the third. So I'm going to multiply that by itself 3 times. So again, we can multiply our negative 4s. Negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4 is negative 64. I have all these variables have exponents of 1. I have m to the first 3 times, so m to the third. I have n to the first 3 times, so n to the third as well. So negative 64m cubed, n cubed. Now there is kind of a trick to this where you won't have to write all that out, and we'll look at that on the next one. So I have a squared raised to the 1/2. Now there's actually a little formula you can use for this like we did yesterday. If I have some number x raised to a power raised to another power, that's just x to its power times what we're raising it to. So essentially what we're doing here is multiplying our exponents. So instead of writing this the way we've been, I'm going to write a squared, and I'm going to multiply its exponent by the power we're raising it to, which is 1/2. Now I just do 2 times 1/2 is 1, and my answer is a to the first. So let's use that technique on number 4. But this time it has a number, so I have to do this to every individual piece. I have 3 cubed. Then I'm going to have b to the 1/3, but remember I multiply exponents, so times that cubed. Then I have c to the third, and again times that exponent that they gave us, 3 times 3. All right, so now that we have that written out, we can do 3 to the third in our calculator. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, so that takes care of that one. I have b to the 1/3 times 3. 1/3 times 3, if you don't have a calculator, that should be bad. 1/3 of 3 is 1. And I have c to the 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 27b, c to the 9th. Let's go down to apparently another number 3. And it's the same thing, except now I'm raising it to the fourth. So I take the number and I raise it to the power. I take the first variable and its exponent and multiply its exponent by what we're raising it to, so times 4. And b squared, but I take the 2 and multiply it by the power as well, so times 4. Now 4 to the fourth is probably a calculator problem. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 4 is 64. 64 times 4 is 256. Then I have a, and if you don't know what 3/4 times 4 is, put it in your calculator. 3/4 times 4 is 3. And then I have b to the 2 times 4. 2 times 4 is 8. So 256a cubed, b to the 8th. Now, we're going to have to combine this with some stuff we've done in previous days, and that's what's happening in number 4. Now, if you don't remember your order of operations, first you're supposed to check your parentheses. Well, inside these parentheses, there's nothing I can do. So I go to my next one, which is exponents. So I'm going to break this up into 2 problems. I'm going to do this piece first, then I'm going to do this piece, then I'm going to multiply them together. So I'm going to look at the first one. I have 1/3 to the third, And I have p to the first, and I'm going to multiply that by the power we're raising it to. And I have q to the first, and multiply that by the power we're raising it to. So be careful when you put fractions or anything really into your calculator and raise it to a power. You probably want to use parentheses or get in that habit. 1/3 cubed is 1 over 27. Then I have p to the 1 times 3, which is 3, and q to the 1 times 3, which is 3. Now that still goes in my parentheses. Let's move over to the other one. I'm going to have 3 to the 2, p to the 3 halves, times the power raising it to, which is 2, and q to the 4th times the power raising it to, which is 2. Now I'm going to open up parentheses on this one. 3 times 3, or 3 squared, is 9. P to the 3 halves times 2 would be p to the 3rd. And then q to the 4 times 2 would be q to the 8th. So now it's back to what we did yesterday, where we have to multiply. So I'm going to take my numbers and multiply those. 1 over 27 times 9 is 1/3. And now I go to my variables. Remember, when we multiply, we're adding them. P to the 3rd times p to the 3rd is p to the 6th. Q to the 3rd times q to the 8th is q to the 11th. There's your answer. So be careful there. It's a little more complicated because you have to use what you did yesterday, but it shouldn't be too bad. Let's go to number 5. We're almost done. Now, number 5 is another one where you've got to remember order of operations. You're going to be tempted to multiply 5 by 2x cubed y, but you have to take care of exponents first. So I'm going to bring that 5 down, and I'm going to fix what's in my parentheses. I'm going to have 2 squared, x to the 3rd, and that 3 is times what we're raising it to, which is 2. And I have y to the 1st, but that's also times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, so 2 squared is 4. 3 times 2 is 6, so I have x to the 6th. 1 times 2 is 2, y squared. Now all I have to do is the multiplication, and that's pretty easy. It's just 5 times 4 is 20, x to the 6th, y squared. Now number 6 looks funny, but it's not very bad. It's raised to 2 different exponents. So we're going to start with the one that's on the outside first. So I'm going to rewrite the negative 2x squared, and it was being raised to the 3rd, but that 3rd was being raised to the 2. So I'm going to multiply it by 2. When I do that, I get negative 2x squared to the 6th. Now I do the same thing again. I have negative 2, but I'm going to have to raise that to the 6th. And I have x squared, but since it's raised to the 6th, I multiply it by 6. Now be careful when you put negatives in your calculator. You might put it in parentheses. I got that negative 2 to the 6th was 64. And then x to the 2 times 6 is x to the 12th. Now that's pretty much all the new stuff, guys. The back has a few review problems. Make sure and practice this. We do have a quiz over it. There's 2 questions on these problems specifically. So if you don't practice, you'll never get it. Let's flip to the back page real quick. These won't take long. These are just some review from the last 2 days. We've got a couple that are addition, a couple that are multiplication. So let's look at number 7. Remember, when we're adding, our variables and exponents have to match. So I have an x squared and an x squared, so I can't add them together. Well, x squared plus x squared would give me 2 x squareds. Now, instead of adding them on number 8, we're multiplying. Remember, on multiplication, we add our exponents. Now, each of those actually has a 1 in front of it. So I'm going to do 1 times 1 first, which is 1. Then I have x, but remember, we have to add 2 plus 2, and I get 1x to the 4th. Number 9 is back to addition. Remember, in addition, they have to match. Unfortunately for us, x to the 4th and x cubed don't match. That means you can't do anything. And then the last one's number 10. I have a 1 in front of this x cubed, so I have 2 times 1 is 2. X to the 4th times x to the 3rd is x to the 7th. So if you have any questions, guys, just feel free to come and ask me, and good luck.